NFL trade deadline. We didn't plan this necessarily, but the NFL trade deadline will be right at football at 4, 1 week from today. So literally, as of 40 seconds ago, we were exactly 1 week from the NFL trade deadline. And if the Panthers don't start selling soon, I'm going to be very disappointed. Now, that's not to say everything's all bad, right? I've for 2 consecutive games, we've boosted the Bryceometer. Now, obviously, the bye week doesn't change it, but for 2 consecutive games, we've boosted the Bryceometer in the good direction. So things can be going all right. Here's Frank Reich talking about how things are going with Thomas Brown running the offense over the bye.
No, we've had, Thomas and I had another good discussion this morning, just about the transition and about philosophy and, our approach this week and in general. With every day, I feel better. I feel great about it. So Thomas is ready. It'll be an organic thing. There's still going to be a lot of collaboration. Thomas is going to be in charge. It's not going to be micromanaged. The staff will contribute like they do, but Thomas will be, his personality, his decision-making will be based on, will be the play-by-play decisions. What we do as a game planning process, that will still stay the same as it's been.
It can all be going well, getting better. You're 0-6. You're sellers at the deadline. I'm completely okay, and I've said this, with waiting to sell Brian Burns. If you want to sell Brian Burns in the trade, 10 minutes before the deadline, $350 a week from today, go nuts. Because I don't think anyone else can fill a void that they'd be looking to Brian Burns to fill with someone else. Right? It's not going to say, oh, Brian Burns, we were going to trade for him, but then, Frank Clark became available. Like, that's not it. It's not going to be, oh, we wanted Brian Burns, but then we decided just to trade for Myles Garrett anyway. It's like, that's not realistic. It's not going to happen. So somebody that's in the market for Brian Burns is in the market for Brian Burns or nobody. Right? Because there's not many of those guys rolling around. He's one of the big dominoes. However, Terrace Marshall Jr., Jeremy Chinn, if there's still a market for him despite the injury, Donte Jackson, Frankie Luvu. If you don't move them now, teams may look elsewhere to fill those needs. Some of those guys I really like. There was a point in time coming out of the draft, I was a big Terrace Marshall Jr. fan. I've said this before, but I may have drafted him in a fantasy league or two. Not proud. But somebody else, what do you say?
Say trying to take that one back?
I wish I could. Wish I could. Right up there with this past year in a rookie draft, taking Cedric Tillman over Puka Nacua. Anyway, no one cares. No one cares. My point is, there may be someone out there that, like I did, liked Terrace Marshall coming out of the draft, and if they can get him for a discount now, they'd go, yeah, sure, let me see what you're working with. Jeremy Chinn, there might be someone going, ooh, dented can special? If he's going to be out for the next 5 weeks, I'm not giving you full price, but I'll give you something. The Panthers should say something we'll take. Donte Jackson, there is a need for corners. I don't care how many you have. If you are a contender in the NFL, there is a corner out there with experience on a reasonable contract. You are a valuable commodity. Frankie Luvu, I really like Frankie Luvu. I think he's been one of the best surprises of this Carolina Panthers season. However, he is on an expiring contract. If you don't move him now, nobody may be looking for him at the draft or at the trade deadline if they filled them with other linebackers that they got elsewhere. And you need picks. You need more. You need guys that fit with Bryce Young, that can grow with Bryce Young. We talked about him yesterday. Right? We watched on Sunday Night Football. 2 former Alabama quarterbacks that started their careers a little slow, that have since blossomed into stars in the league. Jalen Hurts, Tua Tagovailoa. What did they have in common? They leveled up when they were given A.J. Brown and Tyreek Hill. You need to give Bryce Young his version of A.J. Brown or Tyreek Hill. Picks might help you with that. Trade these guys for a bunch of picks. you might be able to use them as some kind of add-in, some kind of sweetener, or depending on what the pick is, a main component of a trade to go get your number one wide receiver. Guys that are on expiring contracts will not help you get anything this offseason. Frankie Luvu, for as much as you like him, he's not going to help you get anything this offseason. You might be able to re-sign him back, but that's not going to help you get anybody that helps Bryce Young on offense. Donte Jackson, you might really like him. He's under contract reasonably moving forward. Probably not going to help you get much this offseason as he would right now for a contender that's looking to fill a hole right now. The picks you have this year for Carolina, you have your own second, third, and fourth rounder, San Fran's fifth, Tennessee's fifth, and Arizona's sixth. I'm sorry, did you expect there to be more? That's it.
That's it.
They have 6 picks, 3 of your own. So you could have, by the way, the number 1 overall pick in the draft. That would be the Bears. And then you'd only get to benefit from that in the second, third, and fourth round. You wouldn't get the 5th rounder that's actually the last 4th rounder. You wouldn't get the 6th rounder that's actually the last 5th rounder because you're right at the top because you've traded those away. You need to replenish your currency. Right? We mentioned it yesterday talking about those number 1 wide receivers. Stephon Diggs in Buffalo, A.J. Brown in Philly, Tyreek Hill in Miami. Those are number 1 wide receivers that were given to young quarterbacks that needed to level up. They weren't available in the free agency market. They were traded for. And in many cases, they weren't cheap, right? From a contract nor a compensation in the trade scenario. The Panthers wouldn't be able to pull the trigger on those deals because they simply don't have enough draft pick or young player currency to make those trades work. If they want those players, they have to mortgage their future, and that defeats the whole purpose. So anything you have on your roster right now that will not actively help Bryce Young in the future, move it before the market dries up. We talked to, Kevin Byard, right? Safety for the Titans. He goes to the Eagles. Well, guess what? That's now 2 teams that darn sure don't need a safety in Jeremy Chinn. Because the Titans aren't going to go acquire a safety after they just sent one away, and they actually got Edmonds back, another safety. And the Eagles now are like, cool, we solved our safety problem. I actually think the Eagles would have been one of the best suitors for Jeremy Chinn because they're good enough to be like, oh, we don't need him for the next 5 weeks. We need him for the stretch run in the playoffs. We'll take him while he's injured and help him get back. But now they're off the table because you didn't jump in. Now, is there a world where they did jump in and the Eagles said, we don't like Jeremy Chinn? Yes. But there's only so many teams out there that are buyers at the deadline that need what you have, right? Who they believe the piece holding them back is a solid safety or a solid corner or another outside linebacker that can rush like Frankie Luvu and play off ball. Or, hey, let's take a shot on a young wide receiver that never was given a chance in Carolina and Terrace Marshall Jr. because of the instability at the coaching level. There's not going to be like 18 teams in the market for Terrace Marshall.
No.
If there's 2 in the market for Terrace Marshall, go sell it to them now before they go get Hollywood Brown and I don't know, whatever other wide receiver is available.
Hunter Renfrow.
Or maybe the Dolphins would have been in the mix, but they already traded for Chase Claypool. Right? Maybe that was one of the couple suitors that might have been interested.
Call up Cincinnati and, hey, does Joe Burrow want Terrace Marshall Jr. back?
Hey,
They played with him in college.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, man, Jamar Chase, just get the band back together.
Justin Jefferson looks upset in Minnesota. Why don't you get them all over there?
Gosh.
And keep them in the AFC.
Yeah, exactly. Keep them all over there.
Oh, goodness. My point is I keep calling it the draft line. It's the trade deadline. The trade deadline is 1 week exactly from 10 minutes ago. And if the Panthers don't start making moves soon, my anxiety is just going to raise and raise and raise. And my anxiety is on behalf of Bryce Young. I want him treated well in Carolina.